All right, then we might as well get started. I'd like to start meetings on time. Just quickly, can everybody see my screen? I've got a welcome, how to win more best fit buyers. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, so what the point of this meeting is all about is to go through what I've found over the last couple of years. Oh, actually, just a bit of housekeeping. Probably should start with that. And what I'd like you to do is just go ahead and mute yourself, please, because some of us are working from home, dogs and kids and all the rest of it that kick off around us. We want to make sure this is high value for everybody. Please feel free to go ahead and put questions in. I've got a few more people joining us. And we're going to make this, I timed myself doing it this morning, and it's about 35, 40 minutes. And I'd like to make sure that there's lots of time at the end for questions. And of course, if you do stay to the end, or when you do stay to the end, there's going to be an offer to work with me, and that's at no cost. So let's just dive into it. So make sure everybody's there. So as I said, there's a few more people have joined us. Please go ahead and mute yourself. Very good. I can see some clients here and some people I've spoken to. Great, fantastic. All right, so everybody, what we're talking about here is how to win more best fit buyers and build a strong business on high value clients. And that's really important to, it's really important to make that distinction, is that we want to have high value clients. We want to make sure that we're working with our best fit clients, because the world is quite big. There's lots of people out there, lots of businesses out there. We want to make sure we're actually selling to the best people, the right product at the right time. And so what's this? Who is this webinar for? So really the webinar is for heads of software and technology companies that feel their marketing isn't delivering that high value leads that you want. They're tired of the uncertainty or fluffiness around the low ROI of marketing. There's an old saying that only 50% of marketing works. We just don't know which 50%. Well, you know what? With data and analytics these days, that's becoming less and less important. So you need to be able to figure out with your marketing how you're deploying those assets and most effectively using them. And they also want a precision process. I only ever work with software and technology businesses. Those businesses, by their very nature, are about precision processes. They have processes to build and deploy their software, to manage their clients if they're managed services. There's a whole bunch of precision that sits inside my clients' businesses, and a lot of the directors, a lot of the people that start businesses in this space are engineers, and they're by nature reasonably precise. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're providing marketing services and advice that is also wrapped around that precision process, a process that's been proven out over the years. So what we'll be covering today is we're going to be talking about how to actually work with clients that are high value, easy to satisfy, and profitable to serve. So we have three main categories here: defining your best fit clients, knowing the persona behind that buyer, and understanding what content they want and when they want it. Because it's really interesting is that there's some customers will come along and build various pieces of content. Tactically, they'll build the content, but because it's not part of an overall strategy, they're deploying it at the wrong time, at the wrong part of the journey. And I'll show you a funnel. We've all very familiar with funnels in the past, but I want to make sure that we actually really have some clarity on when to deploy those assets in the marketing. We just want to make sure. Yeah, I've got a message here. Is the slide pack available later? Yes, it is. There is some text heavy. I apologize for that, but I absolutely was going to make sure that the slide pack is available. And also, I'm going to provide you the resources and the documents that I fill in with clients live in my live training and live consulting sessions. So there's a couple of things there at the end if you hang around to the end. Okay, so let's carry on. So why would we do this, and why would we go ahead and build these precision processes? So I grabbed a couple of testimonials here. This is, we've got a whole book of them, but these ones I picked out in particular because it talk to the problem that we're solving today. And so really what we're talking about here, if you can have a look at this, before a prospect was anyone who would talk to us, which was wasting a lot of time. And the thing is that most businesses that we deal with don't have infinite number of salespeople or directors' time or engineers' time to waste with people who aren't a great fit. And this, once again, brings us back to the old point of this webinar is we need to be a best fit. We go over to here. So they've had, so the idea is once you've understood this system, we've already had several meetings, demos and quotes, more booked out. Out of all the leads handed over, there's only one tire kicker. We don't want to have tire kickers, and another term we use is pipeline squatters, people who sit there thinking about it forever and a day. We want to move them forward, and the way that we can do that is by actually using really great processes to move them forward, or categorize them in a way you can put them back in a nurture system, email system, so you don't need your salespeople or yourself to worry about them. And also by getting really clear about what a high value client is, also removes that expectation from engineering or delivery that you're going to need 10 pre-sales or 10 customer service agents at the back end when you're actually only going to get 2 clients. So we've used this one here. So this one here talks about our roadmap. And so our roadmap is all about making sure that we deliver high value. And that's usually the result of going through questions like this. And also I brought in one from Jackie Jones here, bottom right-hand corner. And this is all about being buyer-centric. You'll notice that this webinar is all about making sure that I transfer value to you. You'll see that my nurture emails, every interaction that we have is about providing value. And then when you're ready, you put your hand up. And of course, I'll then follow the correct process and follow up and go through those things to make sure there's a good fit. And I've spoken to many clients in the past who haven't been right, haven't been ready, and I don't want to jam them up and sell them. So it's about lovingly letting them go back into the nurture process. And when they're ready, they come forward. So let's get started. So how do we stand out in a crowded market? From 500 meters away, you can't tell the difference between this dog and this sheep. But and this is what happens a lot of time, that your customers probably feel very similar to this. They sit back and look at your business, whether you're selling software, services, you're doing managed services, or whatever your particular delivery mechanism is, that they look back and go, oh, you're a managed service provider. I know what they look like. Or I know you're a reseller for software. I know what that looks like. And there's absolutely no way to differentiate and how to actually get close enough to understand what your client needs and get in the client's mind. And that's really what we're talking about today. So how do we stand out in a crowded market? Well, how we do that is by creating, by narrowing down, by being more clear about your client, not becoming broader, but becoming more clear. The closer we get to this dog, the more obvious that it's a dog, not a sheep. So how do we go ahead and find these people? Well, it's through tight targeting. So this is a concept my clients in the room will already know, and it's all about finding your best fit customer, and it's with tight target. So we're going to categorize our customers. I want you to think about your customer base. Think about the people you've dealt with in service, in support, people you've sold to over the course of the last year. And I want you to categorize them in an A, B, C. Now, that's not A for good, B for average, and C for crummy. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I want you to look at is your A for absolute. These customers are your perfect fit. It's almost like they were designed for your product, for your solution. And so we want to make sure we've got a really clear understanding of what those absolute clients are. And I've got a couple of clients in the room who've done a really good job of defining their absolute best client. And amazingly, well, actually not amazingly, it's not surprising to me at all, but to them, often they find themselves going, oh, now we really understand who we're targeting. It might be 2 or 3 verticals, it doesn't have to be just one. But if 2 or 3 areas, we just go after that, we produce content for that, we have conversations around that. And by understanding that particular niche, that particular area of the marketplace, you're going to be way ahead of the competition, because nobody in the world, when they need something solved, are going to look for a generalist. They're looking for an expert. And if you can position yourself as that expert because you've got the lexicon, you've got the vocabulary around those particular issues that particular customer is having, you're going to be way ahead of the competition. So A for absolute, B for beneficial. This is a customer, good trade and exchange. So you're providing a product or service, they're paying their money, they don't take up too much time in customer service. And, it's a reasonably good relationship. C is for convenient. Now, a lot of SaaS businesses, I can see a few SaaS businesses in the room, and certainly some managed services businesses. They go, well, we'll be everything to everybody. We'll take everybody on board. We'll do that work. And what's interesting is that these customers are often 80% of our database, providing 20% of our revenue. And there's a quick story about that. I was working with a client who was selling very, very large software systems to very, very large, well, the world's largest mining company. And what we figured out is that throughout that process is that the client was convenient. They were not really providing a great deal of value. They were difficult to deal with. They had lots of customer service. They paid slowly. And it was really overall quite a challenging relationship. So what we did is we mapped out what a B grade or a beneficial client would look like. Then we mapped out what an A grade client would look like. And then we took steps to move that client up the levels. And what did they have to do? They had to, pay more in customer service. So we went ahead and increased the contract by over 50%. Then we had a look at the licensing, and we changed how that model worked as well. And over time, and also became much less reactive to that client's needs. We didn't just, take the call and do whatever the client wanted. We wanted to make sure that there was a respectful relationship there. So we moved them to beneficial, and now it works much, much better. So have a think now of your current database. Who are your absolute best customers? The ones that are the best fit for your service, not the ones you've had to shoehorn into the process, your best fit customers. Think about your beneficial ones and your convenient ones, and then map. How would you get your convenient customers, the ones that just take up a lot of time in customer service? That level 1 support is an onerous obligation you need to provide. How do we bring them up to beneficial? Can we undertake some projects, some services, increase the revenue from that client? But really, if they're really, a low value, high effort client, it might be time to offer them the opportunity to find other providers. And that's sometimes what you've got to do. So we'll carry on. So first of all, define your best fit client. So how do you do that? I've given you a bit of an indication. Let's sort of go a bit deeper on that. So think about your top 5 to 10 client organizations. Now, this is the businesses, not the people, the businesses. What makes them ideal? Why are they easy to satisfy and work with? Are they profitable to serve? Do they pay on time? Do they readily refer you? Sure, these are the ideal outcomes, but what makes your ideal client? So the homework and the document I'm going to give you is how to map what an ideal client looks like. And it might be referrals, it might be product market fit. So your product really fits their requirements. You've got to map these things out for yourself. And so let's carry on. So the key takeout here is ideal clients are always best fit for your service, products, and company. And the reverse is also true. What does that mean? If a client is stopped paying on time, if they put up a lot of objections when it comes to your recommendations, a lot of my clients, actually, I'm looking at the list here, all of my clients are referred as trusted advisors with their clients. If you're finding yourself a victim of the Dunning-Kruger effect, where clients who don't know what they're talking about, they want to prescribe answers to you. They don't know, but they think they know because they've got a vague understanding of it. You're going to find yourself in a really challenging position. So what are the action steps? List out those 5 to 10 clients who meet the above. What features do they have in common? Now, this is really interesting. Why did they choose you? And if you don't know why they chose you, call them. It's really a revelation for businesses and for people when they actually call their clients and say, "Hi, take me back to when before you purchased from us. Why did you choose us?" Because what you think, it might be the salesperson. I'm a salesperson, so we've got an ego the size of all get out. But we want to make. But you might go, "Oh, Matthew's a lovely bloke." Yeah, that might be the case. It's really not usually the case. Well, it might be because your service, your product, your match, your delivery, your references, or whatever it might be the thing that actually convinces a customer. So what does that mean? Do more of that. Okay, if they're a best fit client. So what triggered the need? This is really interesting as well. Was there a new CIO come on board? Was there a new market? Was there a new strategic plan come on board, be implemented? Did the market change? Did COVID happen? What was it that actually made them choose you? Once again, ask that question of the customer if you don't know. And even if you think you know, ask the customer anyway. You'll be amazed at the answers you get. So who did you beat last time? Once again, ask the customer. If you know what during the sale, who you beat, great. Often customers don't want to share that, but certainly go ahead and ask that after you've gone ahead and delivered value for the client. I was, one of my marketing managers who works with us was speaking to a client, and they were saying that they had lots and lots of people, had 3 or 4 different businesses who were in the mix. We didn't know this. We didn't know. They said, "Oh, we might be talking to other people." That's fine. But once we actually had that conversation 6 months into the engagement, a couple of months into the engagement, we figured out there was we were in a competitive landscape, and we won because of the way that we engaged at the beginning. So you know what? We're doing more of that. We're providing more value about best fit clients. This is a direct one-to-one relationship between the stuff that made one customer buy and another one, certainly if they're in your perfect target customer market. And then where are you at risk? Now, this is something that makes some business owners a little bit uncomfortable. But if they went into each and every account that they've got and thought about where are you at risk? Has there been some challenges in customer service? Have there been some competitors sniffing around who offer a cheaper, better, a different service? Understand that. And once again, speak to your clients. If you speak to your client, you're having them building that relationship. If they're an A-class client, they'd rather have a beer with you and well, drink if you like. They would rather hang out, and it would actually hurt them emotionally if they even thought about leaving, because they know there's a great value exchange there. But we've also got to keep being a realist and understand that businesses and people churn. So let's carry on. Here it is. Here's the example. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to work out the organization's names. You're going to figure out what they've got in common. Vertical, size, location, complexity, ownership structure, problem that they're currently got, environment, industry they sell to, all of that space. Why do they choose you? I know that some of you love a good Excel spreadsheet, so this is perfect for you. Event that triggered the need, competitors that you've beaten, and vulnerabilities now. If you map this out with your senior leadership team and your salespeople and your marketing people and whomever else might be interested in being involved in this conversation, it's fascinating. Now, you're not trying to solve anything here, you're just trying to map it. All we're going to do is collect the gold dust. Okay, so as I said, I'll provide this to you at the end. So the next thing is you've got to know your buyer and their problems. So we're not every client's going to come along and spew out their problems to you. But if you know the problems that they're currently facing, because you're an expert in the industry, once again, if you're doing everything for everybody, it's way too hard to understand the problems, or you create some problem statements that are way too vague. Security is an issue, or they don't understand their pipeline coverage. If you're selling, like an ERP or a CRM system, or there's lots of people in the organization, we're going to make sure our computers are updated. That's too vague. But if you really understand your buyer, your company, and the individual. So know the person behind the buyer. So we always talk, and you've probably heard the term, B2B sales, the business to business sales, or B2C sales, business to customer sales, or B2E, enterprise, or G, government. The thing is, though, that businesses don't sell things and businesses don't buy things. Humans do it. It's a human relationship and a human interaction. Unless you're selling something completely and purely transactional, if you are selling something completely purely transactional, you're not one of my clients anyway. So we're talking about complex, nuanced sales. So a human speaks to another human. So we need to understand what that human's going through. What makes your buyers buy? What makes them tick? So what I need you to do is think about their jobs and the criteria in which they're judged. Now, I put this challenge to a client a couple of months ago now, and they said, "Oh, well, we think we're selling to this is the role, or this is the job title." And we started going down a bit of a path. I said, "Look, are we absolutely confident that this is the measurements by which these people are measured, or the KPIs?" They went, "Oh, yeah, we think so." I said, "Don't think, no. So this is what I want you to do. I've got somebody else trying to join here. 1 second. All right, so this is what I want you to do. If you're actually thinking about this and thinking about how to make this work, so welcome. If you've just joined us, just go ahead and mute yourself, please. And if you don't want to be on camera, you don't have to be. So what I want you to do is go to Seek, go to Monster, go to one of the employment platforms, look up the role that you're looking to sell to. And then what's amazingly right there in front of you will be all of the KPIs, all of the expectations, all of the things that they should have done. And everything you need to know about selling to that customer has been written out by the company for that role. And you can, it's amazing the insights that you'll be able to gain simply by understanding how they're going to be measured. So that's a real, I only started doing that a couple of months ago. I thought it was obvious, but the client, I didn't think of it. And so I've been putting that to people ever since, is go ahead and look up, what's the CIO of a construction company measured on? Go on to Seek, CIO construction company. There'll be 20 different job adverts there telling you exactly how they're measured. Please do that. Have a think about those people. So if you want to understand the person behind the role, it'll be easy to satisfy. If you really understand them, it'll be easy to satisfy and convert them. So what's the takeaway here? Oops. Buyers of technology are just like you. Their roles, responsibilities, hopes, and fears. I was speaking with a client the other day who wanted to sell to research scientists. And so all of their marketing is technical and heavy and sine waves and a whole bunch of really heavy technical stuff. And it did an amazing job. I won't go into it, but it's an incredible piece of technology. But what it does, it actually allows them to accelerate their research by about 20 times. They need no grad students to actually manage the process anymore. So what that does is it actually doesn't do all of those things. But what it does do is accelerates the time between idea and published paper, because that's what they want to do. They want to publish the paper. They want, these scientists, these researchers, they want to publish a paper. They want to get recognized, and then they want to get tenure. So the marketing doesn't need to be, we do all these cool technical things. Later on in the process, it might do, lots of feeds and speeds. But really at the top, it's how to go from idea to published paper 10 times faster. Now that is actually talking to the person, the human that's there, because humans are driven by ego. Then you can actually go ahead and sell and make your point based on facts and logic. But you cannot open the door with facts and logic. You've got to open the door with human emotion. So action steps. List those 3 to 5 most common titles: CIO, CFO, CEO. For each of them, 3 fears that keep them awake at night, 3 alternatives that they can choose, the drawbacks of those alternatives, and how you remove those fears without drawbacks. Okay, the clients in the room that I can see there's a few clients in the room here today. You'll know that this conversation took quite a long time, took quite a lot of effort, but the result of this conversation continues to pay dividends time and time again. Whenever we want to create a new piece of content, we go back to that and look at that and go, is this solving the problem? What gold dust have we got sitting in those sheets that can demonstrate back to our perfect target customer? We want them to know that we know them really well. Sort of like me. I started my first software company when I was 22. I had all the same problems that a lot of my clients have, so I can speak their language. I know what they're going on about. And I know, and I've run a services business. I've run a project business, 70 staff at one stage. All of these challenges I experienced myself, so I can actually speak relatively intelligently with my clients. So do the same for yours. So here's the worksheet. So I've grabbed an example here: buyer persona, CIO, 3 questions to keep him awake at night. How will I ensure releases are on time? That's keeping him awake at night. So the alternative, so what I want you to do is map out 3 alternatives of buying from you, because you go, well, obviously they're going to buy from me. Well, if it was obvious, you'd be a $1 billion company, might not even be on this webinar. So we need to make sure that we really understand what their choices are. So the alternative here is DIY in-house. This is usually something that comes up. oh, the CTO is going to go ahead and build it themselves. Problem is they've got a lot of BAU or business as usual to deal with. Projects get started, they take on resources, and those resources are a single resource, not a team of resources to do this thing for a living. So how do I ensure releases are on time? Maybe they're a DevOps environment. The drawbacks of doing it in-house is maybe even harder to ensure. How do you solve this problem without drawbacks? Well, your software or solution creates automation, control, processes. You might bring in other software. You might deploy a Kubernetes or a HashiCorp product or whatever it might be. You might be able to pull these resources because you do it for a job. You can actually ensure the process, create that automation in that machine to ensure that those application releases get done in a containerized and effective manner. What's the other question keeping him awake at night? How can I keep costs down and delays down? Cost and delays, this is what every technical person is dealing with because often the technical lives underneath the CFO's remit and they are seen as an expense. So we need to make sure we're managing
releases the time.
So we're dealing with so cost may be reduced, but time and unreadability might increase. How do we deal with it? Our SaaS model reduces cost, automation ensures timely delivery. And so you go through each one of these steps to ensure we understand that what's keeping them awake at night, what are their alternatives, what are the drawbacks of that alternative, and how do you solve this problem without drawbacks? Really important to go ahead and do. And then you map out the competitor 1, competitor 2. Once you do that, this will take some time to do because there's going to be some less than accurate answers. Some clients say, oh, well, the biggest thing that they do is do nothing. Well, we're not talking about people who are just vaguely not even interested in doing something. These people have to do something. So I want you to challenge yourself. If you need help with that, obviously that's part of my job is to challenge you in those conversations. So how do they choose? You know, you've been able to get that, get the attention, but how do they choose what they are going to do? How do they choose the right road, the right path? What's the outcome they're trying to figure out? So what we want to do is understand what the buyers want. Do you know how your buyers choose between your company and the competitors? Remember what I said earlier? Go back to your old customers and ask them. It's really interesting what you'll find out there. So have you considered what's going on in your buyers' heads when they receive emails from you or calls from you? You know, what moves them to action? If you don't know, call them because you'll be amazed. What you think you've sold and what you have sold and what the clients received are often 3 different things. And by having these conversations with clients, you're going to get an amazing insight into their world. And that's going to give you the advantage when talking to the next customer. It's really important for your salespeople and your account managers to have these exact conversations constantly because the world is constantly moving. So if you know your buyer personas inside out, you can give them what they want, when they want it, in the format that they want it, and how they want to consume it. So buyer of technologies are humans. They want to be satisfied and convinced, not sold to. They don't want to be manipulated. That's you know, the Wolf of Wall Street was a great salesperson in his time, but nobody's buying that way anymore. Nobody's being bullied into buying. And if they are, they're going to get a whole bunch of, remember those C-class clients, those convenient clients? If you bully people into buying your solution, you're going to get a whole bunch of problems later on, refund requests, massive and onerous impact on your level 1 support, level 2 support. So it's not even worth it. So the action steps are create a table with accesses for buyer personas and stages of readiness in the buyer's journey. Fill in each cell with the burning question bothering your buyer. What are they thinking? And then for each question, fill in the content you have. Now I'm going to give you a map of the content that you should have available to you and where to put it into your sales process. Here we go. So if you've got something massively innovative and the person's just coming out, if it's an AI or an ML thing, or if it's a Corona thing, or whatever's topical and hot right about blockchain, so they're reasonably unaware. They might be unaware about what value that brings. So the question that your CIO has, or your customer being a CIO has, is Who can tell me more about this issue I've heard about? So they're going to go ahead and Google stuff, right? So that means your SEO needs to be strong. Your presence on LinkedIn and other professional networks needs to be strong. You need to have great assets that sit behind those things. So you maybe already have an infographic. You've got an infographic, great. But you need to fill the holes there if somebody wants to continue reading with a blog post and white paper. Because if you don't provide it, I guarantee you that somebody else will. Somebody else, they'll find a white paper or a blog post from somebody else that is providing that information. Once a person understands it, how does this relate to me and how does it affect me? Do I even care about blockchain? And you probably, in this example, you've got a video, but you also need an ebook to really get into it. Then they're seeking solutions. So what solutions are around that solve this problem? This is the person moving through the sales process. You might have a data sheet, but you also need a use case. If you don't have it, and a use case is similar to a case study, but a use case is something you can use when, how would you use this system? And you can use those without naming names. So if you've got clients who are particularly sensitive, government, large companies who have PR departments that don't want to be mentioned, but you can use a use case and how they use it, or you can call them customer, you can call them whatever it might be. You might create a category, this logistics company, this a mining company, or a government department, and then you can go through the use case. So I was about to say, does that make sense? So then, and my clients on the line here will know that I ask that a lot because I want to make sure you guys are understanding what I'm talking about. Then as they're comparing, they're looking at two options. Once again, you understand your competition. You might have a case study. Now you can name names in your case study, but your feature comparison, really powerful thing to do. If you get a feature comparison, if you get a really clear understanding of your customers, what they're looking at and their options, you build a little feature comparison table, you'll be amazed at how quickly, and of course you will maximize your value, maximize your particular delivery value, and you'll minimize their value. And you'll explain why your particular value is the most important thing and why your competitor's value is less important. And it's a nice to have, but not a must have. And then as they're moving to the final decision, yes, you'll definitely have a proposal. But remember, the customer that you're going to sell to might not necessarily be the check writer. Who writes checks anymore, the PO raiser or whatever it might be, but there might not necessarily be that person. So therefore, you need to make sure that this person can go into that board meeting, that chiefs meeting, the chiefs meeting, the C-suite. That's what I was looking for, and be able to demonstrate their value of this new purchase really succinctly, really quickly, with facts. Because they're going to, if you've done the research, they're going to trust that you've done the research. But if you can go and we've done this for security businesses, we've done this for a whole range of organizations, and you can do it yourself. It could be on your website or a document. You put in the issue, the cost of doing nothing, the cost of a breach if it's security, the cost of your solution, and it should work out to be of high value. Of course, you wouldn't make many sales if you weren't able to demonstrate value. ROI calculator is really strong to go with your proposal. So have a think about how you might be able to implement that. So here's another way of thinking about it. We've all seen funnels in our life. You don't have to read everything here. I did say the slide deck is going to be provided, but this should also map to your sales process. So this should map to your sales process is, so to use marketing terms, target qualified lead, it may be unaware of the problem. Marketing qualified lead has taken some action, and they're seeking solutions as they move down this funnel. And here is exactly what you need to offer at each point. And so, just as I said, this will be provided to you later on. So this is not a blatant self-promotion. This is my website. You've probably been there and seen it. But what I did, this is the bonus section here, is once you've generated and built all this great content, don't forget your website. Remember that you now narrow down your marketplace. You're dealing with the most important customers, or the highest value, your best fit clients. You've done that work, you've mapped them out, you understand their problems and their issues. And this is why I'm showing you my website, because I'm really clear about who I work with. And I want you to be really clear about who you work with. So I write for software and technology companies that must generate new leads and close sales. It's not it's not B2B marketing services. It's not who want to generate new leads and close sales, because the person who must generate new leads and close sales is more motivated. So how can you apply that to your website and your marketing material? Go to so the little task for you at the end of this conversation is go to your website, think of your target customer, think of, their name might be Michelle or Barry or whatever it might be. Put yourself in Michelle's shoes. She's the CIO of a logistics company, and she's going to look at your website. Does it scream, this is for logistics companies? If it doesn't, you've got some work to do. So don't forget your website. Does your website speak directly to your best fit client and organizations and buyers? Your marketing collateral is great. I've sort of said all this. I've known my slideshow. But we want to make sure we get what they want. It's time to position your company to get more of them. Remember, the people who are the key, using somebody else's term, but a key person of influence, a person who's an expert in the area is going to be able to generate more quality customers. Think about doctors, a GP. I can call up the GP and get in tomorrow. But if I want to go to a specialist, that might be weeks ahead, and they're going to charge way more. So if you specialize, if you take the time, go through the effort, because a specialist, I know an ophthalmologist who spent, I think, 14 years educating himself. It's a lot of work, but now he's making $1.5 million a year. Whereas the GP is not doing that. So the work, yes, you've got to do work. Sorry, there's no magic bullet or silver bullet. I can't wave a magic wand and do this for you. In this session, that's what we do for a job anyway, is find those magic areas and work with business owners, but figure out how to do that. So the key takeout is don't try to be everything to everyone. A lot of managed service providers, a lot of custom software builders, they vehemently and strongly hang on to the fact that they can do everything for everybody. You know what? They probably can. But if you find your perfect customer, your perfect niche, imagine if you were the only company in Australia to be the best and only focused on logistics, the managed service provider for logistics, or the software company that builds for major corporates doing real estate. I don't know. So think about your target market, think about your perfect customer, and see if you can find more of them, because you will be able to charge more and get more clients, do actual less work and make more money. It's sort of the whole point. If anybody here is read the Phoenix Project or The Goal or any of these sort of DevOps books, or the Theory of Constraints about optimizing your process, the first question the consultant asks is, what's the goal? And the company are talking about productivity and throughput, and you say, wait a minute, isn't it to make money? And that's the key. That's the area that that's the moment when, of course, the whole point of this thing is to make money. So why don't we find a way to serve really great high quality customers and make money and deal with less C-class clients? So action steps here is define what your client, what you do best, help your best fit buyers find themselves and qualify themselves in. If somebody goes to my websites and they're in logistics, picking on logistics today, but they go into my website, they go there and they go, oh, I'm in logistics. This is for software and technology companies. I'm out. I don't even have to have the conversation. Now I do get referred businesses and I have conversations with them. And if they're a good fit and I like them, then I might still do some work. But that's not who I'm going to market to look for. So we want to make it easy for them to enter your funnel. Remember my website, big red button, get your download here. Make it easy. Don't, the call us now, that's way too much if somebody's just joining up to you, just going to your website from an advert or a blog post you've done. It's too much effort. And I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to do my research. And it might be, most people are researching on their phones. They're not going to, and it's after hours. They're not going to phone, they're not going to press the button and do that. Unless, once again, you're in a transactional business. So we want to make sure it's easy for non-ideal buyers to find themselves and qualify themselves out. That's really important. So, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully this has been some value. I'm looking at the time, I'm really close to the end. So what's the offer? So because I'm really passionate about making sure that there's some, because what I know is there's amazing companies out there in the marketplace. I know that none of my clients are doing shoddy work. They're all doing amazing work, but their problem they had was obscurity. The market didn't know about them. If your market knew about you, you would make more sales. Fact. If your target customer knew about you, you would make more sales. So how do we do that? So what I want to do is I want to spend 45 minutes with some of you. If you want to go ahead and email me, DM me in the chat, or of course you could just make contact in some way, or book in a time. We're going to do a quick sales and marketing review. We're going to look at your website, what are you offering. Don't have to be there should be no data embarrassment or embarrassment at all. Don't expect everybody to be amazing on day one, but I can give you some tips and tricks and ideas and recommendations for next steps. And the cost, once again, is free. This is about me helping you, and maybe you can tell your friends about it. So look, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Do go ahead and I don't know if we've got any time for questions. I am going to finish up on time today. But if you have any questions, email me, message me on the LinkedIn group. Happy to chat there. You've got hopefully you've got my phone number from my emails. Has this been of value? Has this been helpful? Hope so. I did ask you to mute yourself. So thanks everybody. All the best, and book yourself in. If there's been any particular ideas, has there been any particular ideas that have really grabbed you today? If there has been, that's amazing. Please go ahead and book yourself in. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Narendra, and thank you, Shah. Appreciate it. All right, everybody. Thanks very much for taking the time today on your busy business day, and I look forward to talking to you in the future. Bye for now.